I didn't think he'd actually do it. That's what I need everyone to understand first. I thought my vacation fling was harmless, temporary, didn't count. I thought telling my boyfriend that vacation romances aren't real would make him understand. I thought he'd accept my explanation and we'd move past it. I thought the rules were different when you're on vacation. I was catastrophically wrong about all of that. My boyfriend, well, ex-boyfriend now, his name is Marcus. We'd been together for 5 years, living together for 3 of those years in his apartment downtown. Serious, committed relationship by every measure. The kind where we talked about engagement and marriage regularly, where his family treated me like I was already part of the family, where we'd started looking at houses together. We'd planned a girls' trip to Cancun, specifically for my friend Jessica's bachelorette party. 6 days in Mexico with 7 women total, 5 nights at an all-inclusive resort right on the beach. The whole thing planned months in advance. Marcus had been completely supportive from the beginning, helped me shop for swimsuits and beach clothes, helped me pack my suitcase, drove me to the airport early on Friday morning, kissed me goodbye, told me to have an amazing time and not worry about him at all. Trusted me completely and absolutely, because we'd never once had any issues with trust in our 5 solid years together. The trip was exactly what I'd expected initially. Perfect beach days, pool parties with drinks, dancing at nightclubs, celebrating Jessica getting married in a few months. Standard bachelorette party activities, nothing unusual or concerning for the first 2 days. And then on the 3rd night, at a beach club called Mandala that the hotel concierge had recommended, I met someone. His name was Diego. Local guy who worked as a club promoter and knew everyone. Incredibly attractive in that way. Vacation guys are attractive, tan, fit, charming, confident, attentive in ways that felt exciting and different and novel compared to my comfortable 5-year relationship with Marcus, where we'd settled into predictable routines. Diego paid attention to me specifically out of our group, brought us drinks, danced with me, flirted openly, made me feel special and exciting in ways I hadn't felt in a while. And I let it happen. Let him buy me drinks, let him dance with me, let him get progressively closer and more intimate throughout the night. I kissed him that 3rd night. Just a kiss initially, but definitely crossing a line I knew I was crossing. Told myself it was just vacation fun. Just temporary. Didn't mean anything. Would stay in Mexico. And then I kissed him again, the 4th night when we went back to the same club. More than just kissing this time, making out in the club, his hands on me responding enthusiastically. My friends saw, and some of them seemed concerned, but no one directly stopped me. I told myself again it was just vacation. Different rules, temporary fun that wouldn't affect my real life back home with Marcus. And then I slept with him on the 5th night of the trip. He invited me back to his place after the club. I went. We had sex. I stayed at his place until morning and snuck back to the resort before my friends woke up. Told myself the entire time that it didn't count because it was vacation. Because what happens in Mexico stays in Mexico. That's what everyone says, right? Because vacation romance isn't real romance. It's just fun, temporary, meaningless, separate from real life. Because I'd go home to Marcus and our actual relationship, and this would just be a fun memory. A vacation fling that didn't threaten anything actually important. I came home from Cancun on Sunday evening, feeling intensely guilty, but also somehow weirdly justified in my twisted mind. The trip had been amazing and fun, and exactly what I'd wanted. Diego had been exciting and attentive, and made me feel desired. But I loved Marcus deeply. I genuinely wanted my real life with Marcus, wanted our future together, wanted to marry him eventually, wanted to build our life. The vacation thing with Diego had been separate in my mind, different, not actually part of our real relationship and real committed life together. And I absolutely would have kept the entire Diego situation to myself forever, would never have voluntarily told Marcus about any of it, except my friend Jessica posted extensive photos from the entire trip on Instagram and Facebook the very next day, Monday afternoon. Posted probably 50 photos total from the week. Photos that unfortunately included me with Diego in multiple compromising shots that I hadn't even realized she'd taken. Nothing explicitly sexual or obviously incriminating enough to prove cheating, but definitely intimate enough to raise serious questions. His arm wrapped around me possessively in one photo, us dancing pressed very close together in several others, a kiss clearly caught on camera in one particularly damning shot. Marcus saw them all before I even knew they'd been posted, before I could explain or control the narrative or prepare him. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from. The conversation that destroyed my 5-year relationship happened the night I got home from Cancun, after Marcus had clearly spent the entire day seeing the incriminating photos on social media and processing what they meant about our relationship and my trip. He was sitting on our couch when I came out of the shower, still in my bathrobe with wet hair, expecting a normal welcome home. But he had his laptop open with the photos my friend had posted, pulled up on the screen, photos I hadn't even seen yet myself. "Who is this?" he asked calmly, too calmly, pointing at Diego and the photos on his screen. My stomach dropped immediately, felt like ice water in my veins. "Just someone we met at the club one night." "You kissed him," Marcus said flatly, voice completely emotionless. "Multiple times based on these photos, and you're very physically close to him in all of them. His arm is around you, you're dancing pressed against him. There's one where you're clearly kissing." I sat down carefully on the other end of the couch, mind racing, trying to figure out how to explain this without making it worse. Trying to find the right words. "It was just vacation fun. It didn't mean anything." "Did you sleep with him?" Marcus interrupted, cutting straight through my attempt at deflection. I hesitated. Could have lied easily. Should have lied, probably. But somehow in that moment I thought honesty would be better, that telling the truth would show I had nothing to hide. "Yes. But Marcus, it didn't mean anything at all. You fucked someone else in Mexico and you're sitting here telling me it didn't mean anything." His voice was rising now, the calm facade cracking. "It was vacation," I tried desperately to explain, using the logic I'd been using with myself all week. "It's different when you're on vacation. Vacation romance doesn't count the same way regular relationships do." "Vacation romance doesn't count," Marcus repeated very slowly, like he was testing whether he'd heard correctly. "You cheated on me. You actually had sex with another man. And you're saying it doesn't count because you were on vacation. I mean, it's not the same as cheating in real life here at home." "Real life?" His voice rose sharply. "You think Mexico isn't real life? You think our 5-year relationship just pauses when you get on an airplane? You think you can do whatever you want at the beach, and it doesn't affect us?" "That's not exactly what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" Marcus demanded, standing up now, pacing. "Explain to me, please explain to me, how you fucking someone else doesn't count as cheating just because it happened while you were on vacation." "I mean that vacation is separate from our normal daily life." I tried to articulate what had made sense in my head in Mexico. "It's like a bubble, a separate reality. What happens there doesn't affect what we have here at home. It was temporary and meaningless, and now it's over, and I'm home with you. So, if I go on vacation, I can sleep with whoever I want, and it doesn't count against our relationship," Marcus asked pointedly. "That's different." "How?" he interrupted sharply. "How is it different? If vacation romance doesn't count like you're saying, then it doesn't count for anyone. So I could go on vacation next weekend and fuck whoever I meet and come home and tell you it doesn't count. That's the logic you're using?" "I mean, technically, yes, by that logic, but you wouldn't do that." "You're absolutely right," Marcus said, voice hard. "I wouldn't do that. Because I'm in a committed monogamous relationship and I don't cheat on my partner just because I'm in a different geographic location. Because I understand that commitment means something regardless of where my physical body is located. It wasn't really cheating in the traditional sense. You had sex with someone else while in a committed relationship with me, Marcus said very clearly, enunciating each word. That is literally the definition of cheating. The location where it happened doesn't change that fundamental fact. But it was just vacation. It was temporary. It was meaningless. I don't care if it was vacation or a random Tuesday at the grocery store, Marcus interrupted forcefully. You cheated. You fucked someone else. You kissed him multiple times. You spent days with him. And now you're trying to tell me it doesn't count, that it doesn't matter, because of where it physically happened to occur. I'm trying to explain that it didn't mean anything to our relationship, that it didn't change how I feel about you. It means everything to our relationship, Marcus corrected sharply. It means you don't actually respect me or our commitment. It means you think there are different rules for you when you're on vacation. It means you value your temporary fun and excitement over our 5 years together. It means I can't trust you. I love you, I came home to you. But you fucked him, Marcus said bluntly. You kissed him multiple times. You spent days being romantic with him, while I was sitting here at home waiting for you to come back, while I trusted you completely, while I was excited to see you again. I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. You said vacation romance doesn't count, Marcus said, suddenly pulling out his phone with a strange calm. Okay, so I'm going to make myself a vacation. I'm going to book a trip right now to visit my ex-girlfriend Hannah, who lives in Seattle. And I'm going to spend a week with her. And based on your own logic, your own explicit statement, whatever happens between us won't count because it'll be vacation. What? No, you can't. Why not? Marcus asked, already pulling up flight booking sites on his phone. You literally just established the rule. You said it explicitly. Vacation romance doesn't count. So I'm taking a vacation romance. With my ex, who I dated for 2 years before you, who I still talk to occasionally. I'm going to Seattle. That's not the same thing at all. It's exactly the same thing, Marcus interrupted, not looking up from his phone where he was actually searching for flights. Or are you trying to say that vacation romance only doesn't count when you're the one doing it? That the rule only applies to you? You're being ridiculous. You're trying to punish me. I'm being completely consistent with the logic you just presented, Marcus corrected, still looking at flights. You cheated and said it doesn't count because it was vacation. So I'll cheat and it won't count because it's vacation. Fair is fair. Your rules, not mine. He started actually booking a flight on his phone right in front of me. Pulled up airline websites. Started searching Seattle. Pulled up his text messages with Hannah. Messages I hadn't even known they still exchanged. Started typing a message to her, asking if he could visit. Marcus, stop. Please stop. Why should I stop? He asked without even looking up from his phone. According to you, according to your own explicit words, this doesn't count. According to you, what happens on vacation stays on vacation and doesn't affect our real relationship back home. I was wrong. I didn't mean it. Yes, you were wrong, Marcus agreed, still typing. But you said it. You explicitly said it. You established that vacation sex and vacation romance doesn't count against a relationship. So, I'm going to Seattle next weekend. I'm going to stay with Hannah at her apartment. And whatever happens between us won't count against our relationship because it's vacation. Your logic, your rules. Please don't do this. Please don't go. Or what? Marcus looked up from his phone finally, eyes cold. Or you'll be hurt, or you'll feel betrayed, or you'll think I cheated on you. But wait, it's just vacation. It doesn't count. It won't mean anything. Those are literally your exact words about what you did. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. You meant exactly what you said, Marcus interrupted harshly. You meant that you wanted permission to cheat without facing any consequences. You wanted me to accept that you fucked someone else and just be okay with it, move past it, because it happened in Mexico instead of here. So now I'm taking the exact same permission you gave yourself. He showed me his phone screen. had already sent the text to Hannah. "Hey, can I come visit you in Seattle next weekend? Need to get away for a while. Would love to catch up." Watched her typing indicator appear almost immediately. "I don't want an open relationship. I never wanted that." "Neither do I," Marcus said flatly. "I wanted a faithful girlfriend who I could trust, but apparently I don't have that. Apparently I have a girlfriend who goes to Mexico and fucks local guys and then comes home and tells me it doesn't count. So fine. I'll have a vacation romance that doesn't count, just like yours." His phone buzzed. Hannah had responded, "Of course. Would love to see you. How long can you stay?" He showed me the message. "Can we please talk about this like adults?" "We are talking," Marcus said. "And I'm telling you that I'm going to Seattle next weekend. I'm going to see Hannah. I'm going to stay with her. And based on your established logic, your own words, nothing that happens there will count against our relationship because it's vacation. So you have absolutely nothing to worry about." "You're just trying to hurt me." "I'm just trying to take a vacation," Marcus said, typing a response to Hannah. "And according to you, vacation romance doesn't count. So this trip won't count. Simple." He stood up and walked into our bedroom, started pulling out his duffel bag from the closet, started packing clothes, toiletries, his laptop. I followed him desperately, trying to explain that I hadn't meant it the way it sounded, that I was sorry, that I understood it was wrong, that I loved him, that we could work through this together if he'd just stay and talk. "You're right," Marcus said calmly, methodically continuing to pack. "We could work through you cheating. We could potentially get past it if you took actual responsibility for what you did, if you admitted it was wrong without qualifications, if you showed genuine remorse instead of trying to excuse it. But instead, you're standing here telling me it doesn't count, that it didn't matter, that vacation made it okay, so there's nothing to work through. By your own logic, you didn't do anything wrong. And neither will I when I go to Seattle and sleep with Hannah." "Where are you going right now?" "Hotel," Marcus said, zipping up his bag. "I'll be back tomorrow to get more of my things, and then I'm gone next Friday through the following Sunday. Seattle, 1 week, with Hannah. My vacation that doesn't count, just like yours." He picked up his bag, grabbed his keys and wallet, and walked toward the door. I followed him, begging him to stay, to talk more, to not do this. "You did this," Marcus said at the door, not even turning to look at me. "You cheated. You tried to justify it with vacation logic. So now I'm using your vacation logic. If you don't like it, maybe you should have thought about that before you fucked Diego." He left that night, took his bag and walked out of the apartment we'd shared for 3 years together, left me sitting on the floor by the door, crying, realizing I'd destroyed everything by trying to justify my vacation fling with a logic that made no sense. Marcus really did go to Seattle, actually booked the flight that night from the hotel, told me via text he'd be gone Friday through the following Sunday, refused to discuss it further except to repeatedly say he was just applying my own logic back at me. I tried absolutely everything to stop him over that week. Showed up at his hotel, left hundreds of messages, sent him long texts and emails apologizing, admitted repeatedly I'd been completely wrong about the vacation excuse, begged him not to go through with the Seattle trip, promised I'd do anything to make it right. He remained completely unmoved by all of it. "You established the rule very clearly," he said when I managed to corner him at his office parking lot midweek. "Vacation romance doesn't count. You said it explicitly. You meant it when you said it. You used it to justify cheating on me. So now it's the rule that applies to both of us, not just you." "I was wrong about that, so wrong." "Probably," Marcus agreed without emotion. "But you said it. You meant it in the moment. You used it as your defense for betraying me. So now it's established. What happens on vacation doesn't count. That's your rule. I'm just following it." "You're just trying to hurt me the way I hurt you." "I'm just trying to take a vacation," Marcus corrected coldly. "And according to you, according to the logic you presented, What happens on vacation doesn't count against our relationship. So this trip to Seattle won't count. You have nothing to worry about. Those were your exact words about your trip. He went to Seattle that Friday just like he'd said. Flew out in the morning. Posted his boarding pass on social media. Stayed with Hannah at her apartment. Posted photos throughout the week just like my friend had posted photos from Cancun. Photos of him and Hannah at restaurants, at Pike Place Market, on a ferry to Bainbridge Island, at Gasworks Park, at her apartment clearly comfortable together. Nothing explicitly sexual but definitely intimate. His arm around her, them sitting close, laughing together, looking at each other in ways that suggested more than friendship, exactly like my photos with Diego had looked. I spent that entire week going absolutely insane with jealousy and regret and fear. Calling him constantly, every few hours, texting him paragraphs, demanding to know what was happening with Hannah, begging him to come home, apologizing over and over for what I'd done with Diego, telling him I understood now that I'd been completely wrong. He responded exactly once total during the entire week, 3 days in. Enjoying my vacation, having a great time reconnecting with Hannah. Remember, it doesn't count. Your words, not mine. That one text destroyed me, sent me into spirals imagining what they were doing together. Whether he was sleeping with her. Whether he still had feelings for her after 2 years apart. Whether my stupid vacation logic was actually costing me my relationship permanently. When he finally came back to our city the following Sunday evening, I was waiting at the apartment, had been sitting there for hours, demanded immediately to know what had happened with Hannah the second he walked through the door. We had a great time, Marcus said calmly, setting down his bag. Really great time, actually. Reconnected on levels I didn't expect. Remembered why we were together for 2 years before I ever met you. Remembered what it felt like to be with someone who didn't cheat on me. Did you sleep with her? I asked, voice shaking. Does it matter? Marcus asked, looking at me directly. It was vacation. According to you, according to your very explicit statement to me, vacation romance doesn't count against a relationship. It matters to me. I need to know. Why? Marcus interrupted. You slept with Diego in Mexico and told me directly to my face that it didn't count because it was vacation. So if I slept with Hannah in Seattle, it doesn't count either because it was also vacation. Your logic, your rule, applied consistently. Please just tell me what happened. Yes, Marcus said flatly, not breaking eye contact. I slept with her, multiple times over the course of the week, in her apartment, in her bed. We had sex probably 10 times total, and according to your logic, none of it counts because it was vacation. I felt like I'd been physically punched in the stomach. Couldn't breathe. How could you do that to me? How could you do it to me? Marcus interrupted sharply. You started this. You cheated first. You slept with Diego, and then told me it didn't count. I just followed your lead. I just applied the rule you established. If you don't like it, maybe you should have thought about that before you fucked someone else and tried to excuse it with vacation logic. I thought you loved me. I did love you, Marcus corrected, past tense deliberate. I loved you very much for 5 years. But you fucked someone else in Mexico. You betrayed my trust. And then you told me it was fine. It didn't count because it was vacation. So I fucked someone else in Seattle. And I'm telling you it's fine. It doesn't count because it was vacation. Do you see how that feels? We're done, aren't we? I asked, already knowing the answer. We were done the second you kissed Diego, Marcus said. The second you decided vacation made cheating acceptable. You just didn't realize it yet because you genuinely thought vacation created some kind of magical exemption from fidelity. I'm so sorry, I was so wrong. I don't care anymore, Marcus said without emotion. I genuinely don't care about your apology. I'm moving out completely. Hannah asked me to move to Seattle and be with her, and I said yes. I'm leaving in 2 weeks, giving notice at work tomorrow. You're moving across the country for your ex-girlfriend. I'm moving across the country for someone who didn't cheat on me in Mexico and then try to justify it by saying vacation romance doesn't count, Marcus corrected precisely. For someone who wants to be faithful, for someone who actually values commitment regardless of geographic location, for someone who thinks I'm enough without needing vacation flings. But we had 5 years together. And you threw it away for a week with Diego, Marcus interrupted. You prioritized temporary vacation fun over 5 years of relationship. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. He moved out within 2 weeks exactly like he'd said he would. Methodically packed all his belongings. Ended our 5-year relationship with clinical efficiency. Gave notice at his job. Arranged the move to Seattle. Left for Washington State. Left me with the consequences of my vacation romance that I genuinely believed didn't count. I talked extensively to my friend Maya about everything that had happened, about Diego, about my vacation romance excuse, about Marcus going to Seattle and sleeping with Hannah, about him moving there permanently. She'd known us as a couple for our entire 5 years together, had been at gatherings with us countless times, listened to my complete story before telling me exactly what I desperately needed to hear but absolutely didn't want to accept. You cheated on him and then told him it didn't count because you were on vacation? Maya asked with incredulity and judgment. I thought vacation was different, that the rules were different. The rules aren't different, Maya interrupted bluntly. You were in a committed monogamous relationship. You cheated. The location where it happened doesn't change that fundamental fact. Mexico isn't some magical place where commitment doesn't apply. But it was just temporary fun. It wasn't serious. So is the fun most people have when they cheat, Maya said harshly. Affairs are almost always temporary. They're almost always fun and exciting. They don't usually mean the person wants to leave their main relationship, but they're still absolutely cheating. The temporary nature doesn't make it not cheating. I didn't think it would affect our relationship. How could it possibly not affect your relationship? Maya asked. You had sex with someone else. You kissed him multiple times. You spent days being romantic with him. Of course that affects your relationship with Marcus. Of course that's a betrayal. I just thought since it was vacation and temporary. There's no special vacation exemption from fidelity in a committed relationship, Maya interrupted firmly. If you're in a monogamous relationship, you're in it everywhere. Not just at home, not just in your city. Everywhere. Including Mexico, including on girls' trips, including when your partner isn't physically present. I know that now. I understand that now. You knew it then, Maya said firmly. You absolutely knew it when you were kissing Diego. You just didn't want to admit it to yourself because you wanted him. You wanted the excitement, you wanted the temporary vacation romance, and you convinced yourself that vacation made it acceptable instead of admitting you were cheating. She was absolutely right, and I knew it. I'd known cheating was fundamentally wrong when I was kissing Diego in Mexico, when I was sleeping with him, when I was spending days being romantic with him while Marcus was at home trusting me. But I'd wanted Diego, wanted the excitement and novelty and temporary romance, and I'd convinced myself that vacation somehow made it acceptable, that what happened in Mexico wouldn't matter when I got home, that Marcus would never find out, or wouldn't care if he somehow did find out, because it was just vacation fun that didn't really count. But it had counted. It had mattered enormously. It had destroyed everything I valued. But I hanchig and Shaw in Tistau. It's been 10 months since Marcus left for Seattle permanently. 10 months since I told him vacation romance doesn't count, and he made himself a vacation with his ex that completely destroyed our 5-year relationship. I see his social media occasionally. He never bothered blocking me, maybe because he doesn't care enough anymore to bother. He's genuinely happy with Hannah. Really, truly happy in ways that hurt to see. They post photos together, constantly showing their Seattle life together. He moved there and they're living together in her apartment near Capitol Hill, building the exact life we'd planned to build together, going to farmers markets, hiking, exploring the city, looking at each other the way he used to look at me before I destroyed it. I tried dating after Marcus left completely, tried desperately to move on with my life, tried to find someone new who could fill the void. Couldn't stop thinking obsessively about what I'd destroyed. Couldn't find anyone who even remotely compared to what I'd had with Marcus for 5 solid years. Couldn't stop replaying that conversation where I tried to tell him vacation romance didn't count and watched his face change as he understood what I was really saying, that I'd cheated and was trying to excuse it with geographic logic. The truth I eventually had to face was that I'd cheated. Plain and simple cheating with no qualifications or excuses. The location didn't matter at all. The temporary nature didn't matter. The fact that it was vacation didn't matter. I'd been in a committed monogamous relationship, and I'd slept with someone else. I'd kissed him multiple times. I'd been romantic with him for days. I'd violated Marcus's trust completely. And then I'd tried pathetically to excuse it all by saying it didn't count because I was on vacation. Like geographic location somehow created an exemption from commitment and fidelity. And Marcus had shown me exactly how absurd and cruel that logic was by applying it directly back to me without hesitation. By immediately booking a flight to Seattle. By going and staying with Hannah for a week. By sleeping with her multiple times. By telling me it didn't count because it was vacation, using my exact words and logic against me. By making me feel exactly what I'd made him feel. The betrayal, the hurt, the jealousy, the knowledge that your partner was with someone else and choosing them. I think about that conversation constantly, obsessively, unable to stop. About trying desperately to explain that vacation romance doesn't count as real cheating. About genuinely believing in that moment that sounded reasonable and logical. About his face when he understood I was trying to excuse cheating with location-based logic. About him pulling out his phone and actually booking a flight to Seattle right in front of me while I watched helplessly. About him texting Hannah while I sat there. About the calm, methodical way he packed his bag and left that same night without looking back. I think about the week he was in Seattle with Hannah. About going absolutely insane, not knowing what they were doing together. About seeing the photos he posted of them together. About his one devastating text. Remember, it doesn't count. Your words, not mine. About waiting for him to come home. About demanding to know what happened. About him telling me he'd slept with her multiple times, and it didn't count because it was vacation. About the way he said, "I did love you," in deliberate past tense. I understand now, with devastating clarity, what I did wrong on every level. I cheated on my boyfriend of 5 years during a girls' trip to Cancun. I prioritized temporary fun and excitement with a stranger over our 5-year commitment. I thought geographic location made a difference in what constituted fidelity and betrayal. I convinced myself vacation created different rules for behavior. I tried to excuse my behavior with absurd logic instead of taking responsibility for it and admitting what I'd done. I told him it didn't count when it counted more than anything I'd ever done in our relationship. I understand completely why he left, why he immediately went to Seattle without hesitation, why he slept with Hannah multiple times during that week, why he moved there permanently to be with her instead of me, why he's building a life with her now that should have been our life, because I'd shown him definitively that I didn't value our 5-year relationship enough to stay faithful during a simple week-long girls' trip, because I'd tried to tell him my cheating didn't count and didn't matter and shouldn't affect us, because I'd essentially given him explicit permission to do the same thing by establishing that vacation somehow exempted people from commitment and fidelity and monogamy. Because I'd prioritized a temporary week-long fling with a stranger I barely knew over 5 years of building a real life together with someone who loved me completely. We'd had real plans together, concrete future plans. We were going to get engaged within the next year. Marcus had even started looking at rings, had asked my best friend about what styles I liked. We were going to buy a house together in the suburbs. We were going to get married and start a family. We were going to build the life we'd been working toward for 5 years. All of it destroyed because I spent a week in Cancun, kissing and sleeping with someone else, and then tried to tell Marcus it didn't count because vacation. I said, vacation romance doesn't count. Thought I was explaining reasonably why my fling with Diego didn't threaten our relationship. Thought I was making a logical distinction between vacation fun and real-life commitment. Thought Marcus would understand my logic and accept it, and we'd move past it together and continue building our future. He said he'd make himself a vacation with his ex to show me how absurd my logic was. Immediately booked a flight to Seattle right in front of me. Went and stayed with Hannah for a full week. Slept with her multiple times. Came back and told me it didn't count because it was vacation, using my exact logic against me to show me how it felt. Then announced he was moving to Seattle permanently to be with her instead of me, and taught me the hardest, most painful lesson I've ever learned in my life. That vacation romance absolutely does count. That cheating is still cheating regardless of where you are geographically. That trying to excuse betrayal with location-based logic destroys relationships completely and permanently. I learned by losing absolutely everything I valued, by destroying my 5-year relationship with 1 week-long girls' trip, by sitting alone in the apartment he left behind, by understanding far too late that vacation doesn't create different rules or special exemptions, that what happens in Mexico doesn't magically stay in Mexico when you're in a committed relationship, that it doesn't count because vacation is one of the most absurd, cruel, relationship-destroying things you can say after cheating on someone who trusted you completely for 5 years.